Hello, workmates. Welcome to Work and Talk in PH, your go to podcast for lifestyle insights, career convos, and real estate realness, where chill convos meet real life lessons because hashtag it works.
I am Yesha, and joining us today is the coordinator of Gender and Development Desk in the Academic Affairs Office at Far Eastern University, as well as a faculty member in the Department of Language and Literature. She obtained her Master in Development Management from Asian Institute of Management and completed her Master of Arts in Philippine Studies from De La Salle University. Her primary research interests are in human and urban development, migration and labor, and gender equality, while her feasibility studies are on leadership and stakeholder engagement dynamics in inclusion affected contexts and gender in financial inclusion.
So please welcome Miss Amira Milano to the podcast.
Oh, hello.
Let us know, of course, first where her story started. So, Miss A, you have been a person who spoke powerfully by empowering gender equality here in our country. So,
Mm.
can you share where your journey in advocacy really started?
Yeah, the advocacy on women, actually, that is my original niche. It started when I was in college.
Mhm.
So, during our classes, the nuances of the invisibility, I always see that on the reading materials that we have. Na, okay, when we talk about leadership, we only talk about male theories. We only talk about the stories of the male. We only talk about the narratives of the men during that time. Actually, even in sciences, di ba? Parang the first structure of understanding how the human brains works, hindi siya about women, but men, di ba? That, okay, the natural instinct of a man is to survive. But if you're going to look into the nuances, but that is a man. So where are the women? Where are the females? So that is where my journey began, no? Na questioning, being critical of the materials that I'm reading, reporting. So dahan-dahan sa college, sabi ko, no, parang this isn't working. I really need to know more about the women who started revolutionizing what it feels like, what, to be heard. And also looking clearly on the system. Kasi 'di ba, parang mapapansin natin, like for distinction, for credentials, kapag ikaw lalaki ka, you don't need to assert your power because it is something that is expected from you. Like,
Yeah.
okay, he's the CEO, okay, he is the leader, or he is the mayor, etc. It is expected. But if you're a woman, there will always be na nakabalikat sa'yo na, okay, siya yung kauna-unahang babae. Oo, babaeng leader, babaeng mayor. And sometimes there are things that leader siya done, 'di ba? Parang why does gender parang connects to the credibility or the capacity of one's being, no? So, doon siya nag-start sa college. Sabi ko, ay, parang hindi pwede to. Parang, hindi ako, I mean, of course, hindi siya something na kaya mo alone. But I think I am not the first, yan na naman, sa thing about first, woman to question that system. So, might as well join the advocacy, diba? Do something. Work with not just women, but work with the people who were othered, no? So, ganun siyang nag-umpisa. And then the rest is history.
Actually, that's really nice since there's really a lot of issues within inequalities with women. So it's really something interesting that one person can really voice out to this kind of issue.
Yes.
What is the story behind your appointment as the coordinator for gender and development under the Academic Affairs Office of Far Eastern University?
That is just an accidental. No, if you're familiar about the story, I mean the history of penicillin, parang ganon siya. When I went to FEU, my original objective lang talaga is to teach time. That's just my goal. I do not plan really to stay on the operations. Mas na-enjoy ko magturo, mas na-enjoy ko mag-curate ng materials for class. Ang kaso, during the pandemic, ang nangyari, dahil maraming talagang sinubok, no? Marami talagang sinubok yung pandemya. Meron ng mga iilan na colleagues na hindi na nila kinaya, na nasa loob lang sila ng organization because they just want to prioritize their family at that time. So, anong nangyari, nagkakabawasan na ng mga tao because of their choices also, na parang, okay, nasa pandemya kami, pagtuunan ko muna ng pansin sarili kong pamilya. May mga ganun na. And also, everything is uncertain. Ganun yung naging context ng mga tao at that time. So, yung original na coordinator for the gender and development, she got promoted to a position on research. So, mababakante yung GAD. And then, the senior vice president that time, naghahanap siya ng, okay, kailangan merong papalit. Pero saan tayo kukuha? And then, suddenly, aha moment yon, no? She just remembered, ay wait lang, I have this person, nakatrabaho ko siya sa isang curriculum development. So, doon natap ako, like isang tawag lang yon. Amy, are you up for the position, gender and development? You can start na by Monday. So ako, nandun na siya. So, grab it na kasi, hindi mo alam kung kailan darating yung opportunity. So, kapag nandun na siya, kunin mo siya. And then, doon na nagpatuloy, no, na alamin kung ano yung background ng gender and development sa mga academic institution. Specifically because the memorandum from the CHED that time, it's kind of new in terms of implementation, no? Meron ng memorandum before si Commission on Higher Education that there should be a gender and development office sa lahat ng university sa Philippines aligned to the diversity and inclusion. Kaso yung implementation medyo pa lang siya, kumbaga new, I guess. So walang incentive, walang mapipinalize kung sakaling wala. So, doon kami nag-start. So, ganun yung nangyari. Parang everything, I don't know, I just want to believe that everything is cosmic. Kasi gano'n naman, di ba? Kapag nahihirapan na tayo intindihin yung mga bagay, sasabihin natin, hindi kasi may Mercury retrograde. Parang gano'n. But the thing is, hindi naman talaga siya cosmic, di ba? It is all about how you owned everything. So, sabi ko na lang, hindi, na lang, siguro nga cosmic siya. Baka may binag-align yung mga stars. But in reality, siguro dahil ako lang talaga yung may pinakamalakas na boses sa amin. So, kaya ako nalagay dyan.
Actually, Miss, ilang years ka na po ba sa gender and development?
Oh! 5 years. If I'm not mistaken, 5 years. Oh my God. Parang, oo, ang tagal na niya, no? Parang iniisip ko, bisa, talaga ba? 5 years? Kasi since pandemic eh. Oh, tama, diba? So 2020, if I'm not mistaken, parang yan, papasok yung 2021 nung nabigay yan sa akin. So pandemic talaga, hanggang ngayon, ayun.
Wow, ang tagal na pala. Kala ko recent lang since very new actually kasi nga bago lang ako.
Right, yeah.
Them.
Yeah.
So, aside from that, can you guide us through what you know about gender equality here in our country? Are there existing laws and policies that promote it? And in your view, how effective have they been in creating real change?
Nabanggit ko earlier, no, for the academic institutions, we do have the CHED Memo number 1 of 2015. Again, hindi siya the law itself or the policy itself, hindi siya bago. But the implementation, yun yung nag-take talaga ng so much time. 2015 yung memo, pero kung makikita mo yung trajectory ng bawat academic institution sa Pilipinas, parang halos nag-start lang sila magkaroon ng review of what is gender and development. Parang 2022, ganyan. May mga naglagay na sila ng opisina, pero opisina lang siya. Hindi pa malinaw ano yung mechanisms sa loob, no? That is at least for the academic institution. But for the Philippines, we do have Safe Spaces Act. Ito yung pinakabago, no? Na kumbaga para hindi mag-persist yung mga gender disparities, hindi lang sa loob ng academic institution, but also sa mga LGUs, 'di ba? Online spaces. So, safe spaces talaga yung isa sa mayroon tayong batas. At the same time, for women, we have the Magna Carta of Women, no? Syempre may kinalaman yon sa paid leave, no, may kinalaman yon sa ano yung karapatan ng isang babae, whether may pamilya siya or wala, no, sa loob ng isang kumpanya o sa loob ng kanyang organisasyon. We also have the reproductive health law, no? Talks about that the health hindi lang siya about the physical, 'di ba? But this is also relational to maternal health. So yun yung mga ilang batas na mga meron tayo. In terms of effectivity, ito yung kind of fragmented, no? Kasi kahit na sabihin mo na, yes, we have safe spaces, yes, we have Magna Carta, yes, we have the RH. Pero kasi ang nagiging problema natin, hindi definite, hindi clear, ano ba yung dapat gawin ng bawat mamamayan in terms of these laws. So alam lang natin may batas, pero kung hindi natin siya susundin, wala ding kasiguraduhan, wala ding assurance na may mapipinalize, for example, or kung susunod ka, mai-incentivize ka. At the same time, fragmented siya in a way na may mga iilang, for example, lungsod, halimbawa safe spaces, may batas ka. Pero kung titingnan mo kung sino lang yung mga nag-i-implement, at least for the LGUs meron lang safe spaces, Quezon City, Makati, Marikina, and it's not enough, 'di ba? It's not enough. Kung pupunta ka ng Quezon City, yun nga yung naging biruan before Kapag ka merong sensitive kang naranasan sa Quezon City, alam mo may marereport ka. Alam mo may pwede kang mayakap nila. But if you, for example, pag pumunta ka sa mga lungsod na hindi nagpapatupad ng safe spaces, then wala anong mangyayari. And also the problem here is the data. Hindi rin klaro yung data sa atin kasi hindi rin malinaw yung mga nag-i-implement. And at the same time, we're not just looking into data, yung mga reported, but the unreported ones. Kahit na sinasabi ng PNP na from time to time sa VAUSI desk nila, meron sila natatanggap, libo-libo yan, hundreds pa minsan. Pero yung assurance na may nagagawa ba right after filing the case? Or how sure are we that the law is accessible to its people? So those are some of the problems pa rin na may batas, pero the execution and also the iteration hindi siya klaro para sa lahat. So, meron pa ring issue ng access pagdating sa mga batas. So, yeah.
Actually, napapansin ko din since ayun nga po, very limited talaga yung mga laws in terms of protecting each one, especially women.
Yes.
Dami din as usual na issue right now is yung mga abuse and such, either physical or mentally.
Yes.
So, in your view naman po, which country sets the strongest example when it comes to gender equality laws and roles? And what lessons from their experience do you think the Philippines could adopt to strengthen framework in laws?
Ako, mas gusto ko na somehow mag-compare and contrast ng bansa natin sa mga kapitbahay natin dito sa Asia. Kasi kung Western countries, like the Nordic countries for example, wow, they're really doing their best, in terms of gender equality. However, kasi the context is really different. So, as much as I would love to be compared or at least, 'di ba, to borrow what is the Nordic countries doing, malayo tayo sa kanila, so hindi siya something that is relatable, So, I always pick up talaga something from Asia. And kung titignan natin sa mga kapitbahay natin, actually dalawa, yung may mga nagpapakita talaga na napoprotektahan nila yung komunidad. Una ay, for me, this is my personal take, in terms of policy, Taiwan, number one, and of course, Thailand. Policy making, Taiwan, why? Kasi hindi na siya othered. You will see that the policy is hindi siya performative. That when you go to their country and then you read about the policies and the laws that they have, not just for women but also for the LGBT community, you will really see that they see their stakeholders as people, 'di ba? So as much as possible, nakikita mo sa kanila na mahal ng gobyerno nila yung mga tao nila. So siguro yun sa akin kasi I remember before when we went to Taiwan and then sumakay kami ng train. That's the best way to learn about the culture of a certain country. Ride their public transportation, Pagsakay namin ng train, wala siyang bagon for women. So iniisip din namin, ano yung wala siyang pang women kasi 'di ba, for example, here in the Philippines, for the Manila, meron tayong pang doon sa babae, 'di ba? So parang nasa-segregate, 'di ba? Akala mo privilege yun, pero hindi na talaga privilege yun, 'di ba? But going back, pag pupunta ka na Taiwan, wala siyang bagon specific for women. Pero ang nangyari, lahat ng bagon, may designated ka na seat for the pregnant women, for the seniors, for everyone. So makikita mo talaga na even yung kanilang yung pagtrato nila sa kanilang mga tao. At the same time, if pumunta ka sa mga lungsod na meron sila, for example, kahit sa mga probinsya, rehiyon ng Taiwan, makikita mo din na they use the rainbow colors, not just a representation of, hey, we are an ally, diba, a performance, but they use that to serve as a sign to its people na we need to respect them because they're one of us. And nakikita mo yun dun sa policy nila. And that's the thing about policy, diba? That the policy, that will be the reality of your people eh. So, yun yung isa sa maganda. For Thailand naman, why Thailand? Na pwede sana nating hugutin yung framework. Hindi tayo malayo sa kanila. As in, sobrang hindi. Features, diba? Yung weather ng bansa nila. Actually, sila nga yung parang one of the best na makikita natin. Diba kung kaya nila, bakit hindi natin kaya? Ay, kamukha galag din natin sila. Siguro sa kanila naman yung acceptance, it's coming from a certain culture change. Siguro yun yung kailangan pa mag-invest ng, for example, the Philippines. We really need to invest on trying to understand more of our culture. And kapag naintindihan na natin yung culture na define ko ano talaga yung problem, create a regulation or a policy that will work for everyone. So, siguro yun yung top 2 ko pagdating sa sana kaya din natin kasi kaya naman din nila eh. Posible naman siya eh.
Actually, very similar din po talaga sila. But I don't know what's really happening, why it can be same in terms of policies and of course, yung itsura ng country talaga.
Right.
So, in terms naman po with initiatives, are you currently leading or envisioning that you believe will further advance gender equality and inclusive development here in our country?
Naman, syempre. I think mas marami ng organisasyon ngayon yung nakikita na gender, kahit anong gawin mo, that should always be a part of the initiative of an organization or an institution because you are talking about people. You are talking about the narrative of your people. Hindi mo pwedeng tanggalin yung gender and sexuality doon kasi yun din yung nagpapakita kung anong klaseng boses yung meron sila. So, ako for example, nag-start sa FEU before, no? That the FEU must be a safe space for everyone. Laging ganon. And paano siya nag-umpisa? Work with your people. Work with the youth. Ano yung sa tingin ninyong missing? And then treat them as your equals. Kasi meron ka maa-other, and babalik ko yan kung paano din nag-umpisa yung organisasyon ko. Hindi mo nakikilala yung mismong problema or ano yung magiging solusyon kung hindi mo rin kasi kilala kung sino yung nagsasalita. So in terms of initiative, hindi mo pwedeng tanggalin yung gender kasi that is part of the intersection. 'Di ba? Kung paano ka nagde-decide, kung paano mo na-view ang inclusivity, lahat 'yan nanggagaling sana sa tao. And then capacitate that. So, initiatives mahaba-haba pa. Marami-rami pa tayong kailangan gawin. Pero kung hindi kasi tayo mag-uumpisa, kailan tayo mag-uumpisa, no? At the same time, pagdating sa initiatives, may batas naman tayo eh. 'Di ba? Bagamat hindi siya sapat, bagamat hindi siya pa na-iterate, pero meron. And also, ako ito, siguro pinakamalinaw pagdating sa initiative, kasabay ng pagkilala mo sa mga tao mo, kilalanin mo din yung kasaysayan. Kasi for example, here in the Philippines, it's just so innovative that the pre-colonial people, for example, no, and the indigenous people as well, na nauna pa bago ang ating mga colonizers, no. I mean, meron tayong mga babaylan na they are feminized men. So why can't we just go back to those narratives that, you know, ever since naman pre-colonial, kahit babae ka, 'di ba? Hindi ka titingnan bilang babae lang.
Yes.
Pero titingnan ka nila on the basis of your love for your community and yung kakayanan mo to serve. So bakit hindi natin balikan 'yun? No, na hindi naman yun malayo sa atin eh. Aside from looking, 'di ba, sa ating mga kapitbahay, balikan natin yung totoong kwento natin, our core. And I think kapag malinaw yung core, hindi yun maaagaw ng kahit na sino yun sa iyo kasi tayo mas madali siyang balikan eh. Ang nagiging issue lang talaga dito is the access talaga. Hindi kasi pa rin lahat ng halimbawa Filipino people may access on history. Hindi lahat naiintindihan kung ano yung impact ng history sa mga organizations and natin sa institution. So, ayun yung sa akin.
Do you think also, Miss, meron din talagang influence yung other countries in terms of these kinds of issues?
Yeah, oo. Kasi, for example, here in the Philippines, kaya laging sinasabi that to understand also gender, you must decolonize your idea of gender. Kasi marami tayong akala natin tradisyon, akala natin kultura. Kasi yun yung kinalakihan natin. For example, kapag babae ang anak, feeling nila may mga certain families, 'di ba, na ay ayoko babae, hindi madadala yung apelyido. But if we are going to trace back our history, that kind of tradition, quote unquote, it then started from the Filipino themselves. It started from the foreign rule who conditioned us to think this way. Kaya nga again babalik ako, bakit gusto ko din ang narrative ng Taiwan and Thailand? Because that is their first step as well. They decolonize doon sa nakasanayan. Diba? That's the thing also about the status quo. Walang masama sa status quo, of course. Walang masama sa bureaucracy if it's working. But if your status quo and bureaucracy, mas minamarhinalisado niya yung mga tao, then maybe you need to re-examine that status quo and trace back saan siya nag-umpisa and then work on the mental model of your people. Kaya culture change talaga. If we want gender to work, for example, here in the Philippines, it need to start sa pinakamaliit na entity ng bansa, no? Sa pamilya. Do not treat your kids as, babae lang siya. Kung ano mangyari sa'yo, babae ka kasi. Ang nangyayari kasi noon, nagiging responsibilidad ng babae ang kanyang lipunan, in which dapat yung lipunan ang responsable, babae. Diba? You are not safe. Like for example, as a woman, you are not safe, not because you are a woman or you are a female. You are not safe because you have a society that thinks that you can just be objectified because you are a female or you are a woman.
Yeah.
So, yun yung kailangan mong baguhin. Not the women, not the female. Diba? A change in how society will work. And matagal yan. Baga, hindi yan madali. Hindi yan yung basta, okay, nag-usap tayo ngayon, okay, meron na change in culture. But we need to start. And paano ka mag-uumpisa? Sa kabataan, di ba? And syempre, support ng mga naunang henerasyon. Kasi yun naman yung trabaho ngayon eh. For example, di ba, lagi din natin yung pinag-uusapan na pag may mga trainings also, di ba, sinasabi na, dapat the young, the Gen Z, for example, they should be the drivers of change na eh. Kasi kayo yung magmamana ng mundong ito. So, dapat alam niyo na kung ano gagawin niyo sa mundong ito. But, the role of the like, my generation, for example, no, at yung mga nauna pa sa akin, ang trabaho namin nasa passenger seat na lang kami. Para i-guide kayo. Ay, hindi pwede dyan. Oo, dead end dyan, dead end. Oh, diba? Pero dapat ang nagda-drive na ay ang kabataan. Kasi this will be your future. Diba? So, yun yung sana ma-work along the way kasi hindi siya imposible. Yun naman lagi. In terms of development, hindi siya imposible. We just need to define what is important, diba? And how crucial it is for a culture change or transformation, for example.
As you mentioned na, or mga Gen Z talaga, mag-drive in terms of changing something.
Right.
How do you integrate gender development in your team? In what ways do you inspire students or like young ones to embrace and apply these values?
Yeah. Before, no, ano yan eh, 3 sangay yan. Nung nagtuturo pa lang ako, nung hindi pa ako nasa operations, syempre, what I can only do is to curate, di ba napagit ko kanina, sabi ko, bas gusto ko yung nagko-curate ng mga reading materials, nagko-curate ng, sa atin kasi we call it CIB eh, di ba? The course information booklet, but for the, for all, no, the syllabus, for example. Nung ako ay nagtuturo pa lang, yun yung ginagawa ko, I make sure that on the curation of the syllabus, there will always be a lens on gender. And for example, kasi ako, ang hinahawakan ko before is policy making. Hindi siya mahirap. Kasi, halimbawa, paano mo sisiguraduhin na yung policy mo ay not just inclusive of women, but also inclusive of the LGBTQIA+. What should be the process of doing the policy that is inclusive? May intersection pa yan. Kasi, iba yung pagtingin natin sa gender, depende pa sa kultura na pinanggagalingan niya. So, for example, for the indigenous people, hindi mo masyadong issue actually yung gender. Kasi, pag bumalik ka agad sa language nila, alam mong communal yung language nila. Although syempre may mga certain practices din naman sila na, okay, dapat hindi na to nagfa-function. But hindi ikaw yung magsasabi na, okay, itigil nyo yan, hindi ganon. But you will work for them. So nung ako pa ay nagtuturo, yun yung aking talagang ginagawa and mini-make sure. And syempre, feedback from the students. Did it work? Oo, may gusto pa ba kayong i-improve natin? Kasi syempre ako, I can only curate as much as what I know. But syempre, nagbabago na tayo ng pagtingin eh. So, naaalala ko, for example, yung first syllabus ko on women, I only included there the cis women. And then my students are starting na to, Miss, how about the trans women? Oh yeah, I forgot, no? So ganun siya, you work with them. Ano kayang bahagi ng syllabus, for example, na makikita natin that, for example, trans women are women and they need to be also included in terms of understanding a body of a woman. So, mga tipong ganyan. But, syempre, nung nag-take na ako ng role as Gender and Development Coordinator, syempre, mas magbabago na kasi mas magiging malawak na yung stakeholder eh. Dati, estudyante lang. Ngayon, even the faculties, even the admin, kailangan kong mag-coordinate sa kanila eh. Kailangan kong intindihin bakit may ganyang culture pa rin kasi hindi pa rin na natin natatanggal yun. Meron pa rin tayong grievances na may kinalaman with harassment. Hindi talaga siya mawawala. And that is a problem. Bakit hindi siya mawala, diba? So, ang nangyari naman doon is things that I'm doing, for example, in the Gender and Development is to be clear on the flow chart, okay? Be clear of what will happen to you if ginawa mo to. Kasi as one of the implementers of safe spaces, for example, sa loob ng campus, pag ginawa mo to, ano pwedeng mangyari sa'yo? And also trainings na, may mga trainings, workshop, for not just the students but also faculties working with the student organizations as well. Ayun ang isa sa pinakamalaking help. Student leadership, very important kasi they have the power and the authority to nudge also to the administration na meron kayong hindi nasasama. And siguro to be fair also to the administration, syempre dahil may mga decision din sila na paminsan kailangan din nilang gawin. Kailangan maunawaan din ng mga student leaders na hindi naman siya self-serving. It's just in this context, ito yung mas mag-work because we need a structure. So, nung nag-gender and development ako, isa siguro sa pinaka, hindi na siguro siya initiative, but one of the function that we add is how are you going to, the GAD, how is the GAD going to provide a dialogue for all of the stakeholders? And syempre, para hindi maging reactive. Kasi madalas, ang tingin nila, pag gender and development, reactive lang yan kapag may natanggap na harassment. Diba? Pero, not about, sige, halimbawa, syempre pag Women's Month, ayan, paparating, March, no? Hindi yan issue, madaling gumawa ng initiative kapag Women's Month. Syempre, everyone is talking about women, diba? But right after that, what will happen now? So that's a question. For June, diba? Pride Month, for example. Everyone is syempre participating. Okay, we are an ally, etc., etc. But then, right after that, what will happen? So, dahil mas malaki nga yung sakop ngayon ng GAD, yun yung talagang pa rin. Challenge pa rin. Learning process pa rin siya for me. And for the team also, kasi hindi lang naman ako yung gender and develop. Lagi kong sinasabi din with the students and the faculties, we as an office will not work out if you're not going to voice, diba, what is necessary. So, ayun yung mga ginagawa at sana, no, magpatuloy pa rin siya. And syempre, research. Very important also yung research. Kasi, hindi sapat lang na verbatim ang mga bagay. Kailangan na isusulat. So, bahagi din siya ng function. Diba? Paano ka magkakaroon ng space na merong discourse on women, on equality, on disparities, diba, na nangyayari sa lipunan. So, such things.
Miss, have you collab with other institutions or like universities in terms of being a gender development coordinator?
Yes, oo. And buti na banggit mo yan. Kasi dito na naman, makaka-highlight ko na naman. I think this is the reason why isa sa pinaka naging privilege, I will say that's the privilege of the gender and development. Because you have a function. Actually, hindi naman talaga siya original function eh. Pero dahil siguro naging safe space ng bawat isa, yung gender and development and yung student organizations, nagkaroon ng mga collabs sa gender and development, si FEU for example, sa ibang universities because of the student leadership. Ang nangyayari niyan, for example, nagkaroon tayo dati ng collab, for example, UP, Babaylan. Hindi ko yun initiative. Lagi ko yung sinasabi sa hindi yan initiative ni FEU. Initiative yan, for example, ng student leaders ni FEU Manila. Tulungan yon. Tapos, ang nangyari, sila yung magsasabi, Miss, may invitation si ganito, work daw, ganyan. Doon nag-start. At the same time, I remember with the Embassy of Netherlands, for example, ang nangyari nun, through ng Pantay, that is also an organization na ipinapanalo ang LGBTQIA+. So anong nangyari, naghahanap sila ng mga universities na gusto na mas kilatisin pa yung mga polisiya nila on gender, and then funded nga siya with ng Embassy of Netherlands. Natagpuan nila kami ng Pantay because of the student leaders who are, working outside. Para katulad ng ganito, 'di ba? Para I am here in this podcast because you are here, 'di ba, as part of your internship and your initiative as well. So parang ganon, parang I get to connect with people because of the student leaders. Tapos I remember recently lang, for example, with San Beda. Kaya paminsan pag may mga dumadating na collab kay FEU, ang unang tanong ko, sino kayang estudyante to? Lagi ako sinong student leader kaya to? Kasi para ako, syempre, I also have a capital outside. Pero alam ko agad yun kung sino si ganito to, si ganyan yan. Pero minsan, mayroon na talagang lumalapit. UST, for example, ganun din. Na magtataka din ako, wait lang, UST, sino sa UST? San Beda? San Beda? Ateneo also. So, tapos malalaman ko na lang siya kapag pinaplot ko na yung aking schedule at magsasabi na, for example, na, I miss si ano po yan. Si ganito po yan nagsabi. Oh, okay. So, highlighting dun sa kwento na yon. Parang dun ko din nakikita ko, my God, this is the power of, working with your people and try to be collective because I can never do this alone. Kasi for example, the GAD in FEU, I am the only, I am a one-woman office pala. Diba? So, I get to have a team kasi pagbibigyan lang ako ni SVP kung may certain project. But I am really a one-woman office. Kasi sabi ko, kung ako lang siguro mag-isa, tapos wala akong katuwang, hindi ko kakayanin to. Kasi hindi yan mabubuhay ng ako lang. And doon ko mas nakikita yung power of, collaboration and partnership and co-creation talaga with all of the stakeholders.
Siguro since medyo mahaba-haba na, let's go for the last very question.
Wow.
So, looking ahead and what you have mentioned with all of those topics, what legacy do you hope to leave through your work in education and advocacy and gender development?
Siguro hindi sa project. Hindi magbubuhat ng bangko ko, ay dapat ito, ganito, ganyan. But I hope if ever, kung for example, hindi natin sure kung sino na susunod na GAD or like for example, hindi natin alam in the future. I hope that dahil meron ng mga initiatives na naging working with people sa loob and even external, mas mahihirapan na yung mga ibang tao na mag-commit ng harassment, for example, because you already have a system in place. Kasi hindi natin maipapangako na okay, pag alis ko nito, wala na, safe na lahat. Pero what I hope is the legacy sana is that dahil naparamdam na sa bawat isa kung anong feeling na may safe space ka, hindi na bibitawan ng bawat isa yun because it is already in their mental mod. So, yun siguro sa akin. Parang the continuity of it, that will be the legacy.
That's very nice to hear since very big issue talaga right now ang development and equality. Yeah. So, especially, we really need to start in something small, like be in a university, schools, or educational institution as they are the ones who will drive us to the future. Ms. A, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
And giving us such a heartfelt glimpse into your journey.
Listening to how your voice championed gender equality and inclusive development remind us of power of advocacy and impact of one person can make in shaping communities and inspiring change. May this conversation remind you that advocacy begins with awareness and that each of us has the power to create spaces where equality, inclusion, and empowerment can thrive. Again, I am Yesha, and this is Work and Talk in PH, your go-to podcast for lifestyle insights, career convos, and real estate realness, where chill convos meets real life lesson because #it works.